Welcome to Harvesting Clouds, where we take a practical approach to learning and leveraging clouds. In this video, we'll be learning about Azure Automation Runbooks and how to create them. Let's start by navigating to the automation accounts in the Azure Portal and then selecting the automation account that you created earlier. We'll navigate to the Runbook section under the Process Automation section. You can see that there are various runbooks which were created out of the box when we created the automation account. These runbooks act as tutorial for leveraging the run as account which gets created when we create the automation account. If you already have a runbook and you want to import that, or you want to create a new runbook, all you need to do is click on Add a Runbook button. You are presented with two options in the next blade. The first option is to quickly create a new runbook. If you click on this option, you will provide the name for the runbook, for example, Hello World, and then you can select the type of the runbook. Under type, you have various options such as PowerShell. Python 2 is the new option that is still in preview, the graphical option, and PowerShell workflow or graphical PowerShell workflow. For this demo, I'll select PowerShell as the runbook type. You can optionally provide description. It's the best practice to provide a description. After that, you can click on the Create button to create your runbook. The new runbook will immediately be created, and then you will be immediately put into the edit mode for this particular runbook, wherein you can start typing and creating the PowerShell script. If for any reason you do not save your runbook or add anything, and you come back to the original screen wherein we navigated to the automation account under the runbook section under process automation section. You can find your runbook in the list of runbooks right here. You can see that this is the new runbook, that is the Hello World runbook, which was just created. We'll see and edit this runbook in a short while. Let's see what were the other options to create the runbook. If I click again on Add a Runbook, I'm shown Add Runbook Blade. Earlier we clicked and explored the Quick Create option. Let's explore the Import an Existing Runbook option. If I click on it, I'm presented with the Import Runbook Blade, in which I can click on the blue icon, the folder icon, and select the file. The file should not be more than 1 MB to import. I then need to select the type of the runbook that is there in the file. I can select from the same options that we saw earlier while creating a new runbook. I'll provide the name for the runbook and a description for the runbook, and then click on Create to create the runbook from an already exported file. So I'll come out of this wizard and see how I can edit the runbook that we created earlier. To edit the runbook, from the list of the runbooks, we click on the runbook that we created earlier. In the Hello World Runbook Blade, we'll click on the Edit button. This will bring me to the Edit blade, in which I can type whatever I need as part of the PowerShell runbook, that is our Hello World runbook. So to keep the thing simple, I'll just type write output and then type Hello World. Now I have multiple options. The first thing that I need to do is to save this particular runbook. Next, I can test this runbook by clicking on the test pane. This brings me to another blade, which is for the testing. There are no input parameters for this particular runbook. If there would be, I will specify the value for the input parameters right here. The run settings is to run this particular runbook on Azure. The other option is to run this runbook on-premise in a hybrid worker, which we'll explore in a subsequent video. So I'll click on the Start button to start the testing of this particular runbook. The underlying infrastructure where this runbook will execute is a shared infrastructure because we are running a free plan for this particular Runbook execution. The runbook will go through various stages. The first stage is submitting the runbook to be executed. The second stage is that the runbook gets queued. Next, it goes into the running state. Finally, it goes into the completed state. whatever output we mentioned to be outputted is shown on the screen in the test pane. As expected, we see Hello World as the output of this very simple runbook. I'll cross out of this particular test pane and then I'm brought back to the edit pane for the runbook. Now there are multiple other options on the left hand side. You can explore various commandlets that are available to you with respect to Azure and other PowerShell related commandlets by expanding the commandlets on the left hand side and exploring the category that you want. You can see what are the other different runbooks. If you want to invoke a different runbook in your runbook, you can do that as well right from here. Whatever assets we explored in the earlier video, you can access all the assets right from here. You can use these assets and add these assets at get variable for the assets as well as set variable. Similarly, for other kind of assets, you can perform other operations related to those assets right from here. You don't need to remember what those assets are. You don't need to navigate to the assets and explore those assets from there. You can do that while you are in the editing mode for your current runbook. Once you are done authoring your runbook, what you can do is you can publish the runbook. There are various tasks which you can perform with the runbook only once the runbook is in published state. Once the runbook is in published state, if I trigger an execution of a runbook, that is known as one instance execution of the runbook. There could be multiple instances of the runbook running at the same time, which will leverage the underlying infrastructure for the execution. To trigger the runbook manually, all I need to do is click on the Start button in the runbook blade. It will prompt me for confirmation. I can click on Yes, and that will trigger the runbook execution. A job will be created for the runbook execution, which will take me through all the stages we saw earlier. That is, the job will get queued. Once it gets the infrastructure, the job status will go into running, and then it will go into a completed state once the execution has finished. As we can see, the job status has now reached completed state. What we can do is we can navigate to the output section, and there we will see the output of our runbook, which in this case is very simple as Hello World. All the logging and audit information related to the runbook execution will also be captured right here. If there were any inputs to this runbook, those will be shown over here. All the errors as well as warning messages will also be shown in here. All the logs related to runbook will be captured and will be logged as part of the job in here. If there were any exceptions, all the details for that exception will be listed right in the job blade. I can even suspend and resume a runbook if it's a very long running runbook. Coming back to my runbook blade, one of the things in the assets video that we saw was creating an asset for running a particular runbook which is linked to that asset every day at 5 a.m. Now that I have the runbook asset, I can go to schedules and I can add a schedule with this particular runbook. So when I click on the schedule button in link a schedule to your runbook option, I'm presented with all the schedules that are already created for me. I can even create a new schedule right from here by clicking on the plus icon and create a new schedule button. I leverage the schedule which we created in the earlier video, that is daily 5 a.m. schedule. Then next we'll click on parameters and run settings. If there are any input parameters, you will specify those here. If you have hybrid worker, you choose to run this runbook on your hybrid worker, you can select that as well. Right now we don't have any hybrid worker, so the only option is to run this runbook on Azure infrastructure. So I'll hit OK and OK again to link this runbook to the schedule which we created earlier. We can link any number of runbooks with the schedule that we created. Webhooks is another feature that is there with the Runbook. With Webhook, you can do a lot of things programmatically. Webhook is like a switch that you can programmatically call, and then your Runbook will be executed. To do that, all you need to do is click on Add Webhook and click on Create New Webhook. Provide the name of the webhook. Select that this webhook will be enabled. Select an expiration date and time, and then a URL will be presented to you. This URL is very unique to your Runbook. You should not share this URL with anyone. Using this URL, anybody will be able to invoke your Runbook. You need to copy this URL, as this will not be presented later on. You need to copy and record this URL in your records for later execution of the Runbook. Once you hit OK, you can configure the run settings, which includes the input parameters as well as whether you want to run this Runbook on Azure or on your hybrid worker. Once you click Create, the webhook will be created for you. After the webhook is created, you can navigate to that to see all its properties except the URL. The URL is presented only during the creation of the webhook. After a certain point in time, you will have multiple executions of this particular Runbook. For example, if I start this Runbook again, another job will be submitted for this particular Runbook. All the jobs that have occurred on this particular Runbook can be checked by going to the resources section and then jobs section. As you can see, I can view two jobs, one in the completed state and other one in the running state, which we just submitted. After a while, the running job reaches the completed state. I'll close out the Runbook and come back to the Runbook section under the Azure Automation account. I'll talk about the last option to create the Automation Runbook, which is through Browse Gallery. I always believe if somebody has already done the work, why reinvent the wheel? Over here under the gallery, you will find a lot of Azure Automation Runbooks, which has been already created by the community. You can filter by the type of the Runbook that you want to see, as well as the publisher who created the Runbook, whether the Runbooks were published by Microsoft or through the community. You can even search for Script Center versus PowerShell Gallery. Once I hit OK, all the Runbooks are refreshed and I see only the Runbooks that I specified under my filter. I can access the filter again by clicking on the filter icon at the top. I can search for the Runbook that I need. I can provide the keywords and try to find out if that Runbook was created by anyone in the community or through Microsoft. For example, let's take a look at this Runbook, that is scheduling virtual machines shutdown and startup time. Once I click on any Runbook, I'm shown a preview of what that Runbook entails, how that Runbook was created, what are the different parameters in that PowerShell script, and the detailed PowerShell script inside that Runbook. To include this Runbook or create a Runbook using this particular PowerShell script, all I need to do is click on the import button and then specify a name for this particular Runbook. The type is disabled and set to PowerShell. Then all I need to do is hit OK and the Runbook is created for me. I'm immediately taken to that particular Runbook. I can start editing the Runbook by clicking on the edit button and making the changes to this particular Runbook that was created by somebody in the community. As a best practice, always search for the Runbook that you need to create in the community and then start either modifying if the Runbook is available from someone or start creating your own Runbook using the concepts we have just discussed. We'll delve more into some of the advanced concepts in the upcoming videos. For now, that's it.